So it's been a little bit since I made a video about the Falcon gasser that I've been working on. So I thought today I would kind of talk about what I've been doing and what I've done and what I still have to do. There's really been so much going on and I've been so busy I just had not had time to make another video about it. So figured I'd take that time and do that now. Pretty much the rear end and everything is set up where I want it. It's all just tacked into place, but I'm pretty happy with where it's at right now. The only thing I have to do, and I'll show y'all in a moment, is I'm gonna have to radius the fender wells more, because after the car's kind of settled on the springs, the clearance is not anywhere near where it needs to be. It's almost sitting on top of the tires. That's something I'm gonna have to address and probably take another 2-3 inches out of the wheel well radius to make it happy. I have pretty much finished the frame. I put pretty much a half of a front half tubular frame in this car. I left the rear frame rails to keep it leaf spring. They are on leaf spring sliders with 48-inch ladder bars from Checkered Racing, not Competition Engineering. Checkered Racing is the one that built my ladder bars. The only thing I really have to do back there is kind of figure out my panner bar. It's not installed yet. I do have to figure all that good stuff out. But as of today, I guess about 2 or 3 days ago, I finished trimming out my cowl area and put my fenders back on, and I was pretty much ready to start mocking body panels back up to make sure everything's gonna line up. Essentially, ever since I took this car apart, cut the front end off, tacked the front end on, built the frame rails, I have not physically seen this car back together, so it's a little nerve-wracking, hoping and praying you measured right, that everything turns out correctly and your front wheels end up in the right location, which thankfully they did. The frame even ended up being the same length as the original frame rails, so I'm super excited about that. Everything's been turning out pretty darn good. I've had a few hiccups here and there, but it's just stuff you run across. I had to cap that rocker on the passenger side. I had to cap both rockers, but I capped that one over there. Minimum rust repair, not a whole lot. Driver side though, pretty substantial amount of rust repair. Probably about the, I don't know, the first 8-9 inches of where I had to build the cap back just a little bit under the door. So that's what's taken me a lot of time, and honestly to me that's a lot of boring, uninteresting work. I hate rust repair with a passion, but it's just one of those necessary things that has to be done to move forward on a project. So I took time, got that done, got it done right, it's out of the way. Hopefully the only rust I really have to contend with in this car is the rear quarter panels. I can tell there's patches on them, somebody's patched it before, and it seems like there's a lot of Bondo back there, but I'm just not there yet. I'm not ready to tackle that. It's something I'm gonna tackle when we get ready to really start honing the body work. So for now, we're pretty much moving forward. I'm really at the point to where I'm gonna start needing to get a roll cage. I have my engine block. We're gonna be sticking a FE style Ford big block in this stroker, 2.4 tunnel ram, and it's going to be 4-speed. I just have not decided which 4-speed yet, how much money I want to spend yet, because anybody knows when you start building the car is the easy part. The drivetrain's what costs all the money. So all that stuff's to be determined. I just got through mocking up the hood pins for the hood. This car is not going to be tilt front end for now. That might change. I'm not saying it won't ever be, but as for now, I just wanted to pin a hood down and have nothing under it besides fenders and a recessed firewall, an engine, and some fender well headers coming out of it. I just kind of feel the whole tilt front end is overplayed. Not every traditional gassers from back in the day actually had tilt front ends. Tilt front ends just were not always commonplace for gassers. So I wanted to do something a little more traditional in my eyes, and that would be to gut under the hood and pin the hood down. So what I typically do here, you can tell they're just in there right now. A lot of people will, you know, they might drill a hole, put the pin in, drop the hood on it and drill a hole through the bottom, and that's how they put their pins in. I've done that in the past, you know, especially when you're just pinning the front hood. You can like put your pin through where your little rubber bump stop is, slam the hood, it makes a mark, you drill a hole through it. But I have learned that way sucks. It's never accurate. You end up having to waller out your holes to make it work, and it's just, you know, really ends up kind of being the lazy man's way of doing things. So the preferred method I like, and it's a little more time consuming, but I think it turns out a lot better, is to actually decide on, you know, some number to stay symmetrical with. Like on these, I literally went 2.5 inches in, 2.5 inches in, popped my hole. Down here, on this one, I went 2.5 inches in, but since I didn't have a real good way to measure because of the curve of the hood, I decided I liked 39 inches from the cowl down to this point. And that's what I come up with. And I pop my holes through. I literally bolt the pins to the hood with all the hardware, and then I build my brackets from underneath and weld them in. That's how I make them look nice, neat, and accurate. It's a little more time consuming. Some people may not agree with it, but it's what I like doing because in the end, they look better to me because I don't have a pin over here and a pin way over there. They're exactly symmetrical of each other where they should be, regardless of if you're having to build a bracket for them or not. Just make sure you're not, you know, interfering with any kind of other structures underneath. The core support, which I can show you guys real quick here. Let me turn this camera around. So the core support is just shimmed up with some metal at the moment to where the fenders are level, straight, and where all my door gaps look good. So I've been playing with that, shimming them up. Essentially, I'm just going to build 2 brackets per side, bolt it to the frame. I haven't decided exactly where or how yet because I got to think about where my steering box and all that kind of good stuff is going to be before I actually make those mounts. But once I do, pretty much the center section all the way around of the core support will be taken out. It's essentially literally just going to be there to support the fenders, grills, and headlight, and the front of the hood. Outside of that, that's its only purpose. The radiator is going to sit further inboard because the engine's being set back. I'm not going to make hose extensions and all that kind of stuff. I'm just going to set the radiator back with the engine. It's a lot easier. I was always kind of concerned that the straight axle might have been too wide for this car. But I don't know if you can tell, it is absolutely perfect. It is flush with the outside of the fender well. You can tell the door gaps are pretty darn good. Might have just a tiny bit of adjustment to do here and there, but it's like almost non-existent. It's really final fit and finish type stuff. Oh, here, I can show you these. Let me show you these rear wheel well radiuses that I was talking about. Let me back the camera up where you can see. As you can see, I can barely get I can't even get my hand under it now. My fingers, I can touch the inner wheel well. It's almost on top of the tire. When I first cut them and set the car, it looked great, but as the car has set here, it has settled, the springs have settled, yada, yada, yada. So now I'm gonna come back in and cut higher. I have not determined how high yet. I do know I want to get at least 30 inches under it. These are 28 right now, 28 by 10.5. I believe the overall width is 11 or 11.5, counting the sidewalls. But I just want to make sure I can get larger tires under this if necessary. These are essentially going to be my street tires, and then I'm probably just going to have some steel wheels with some 10.5 by 30s on it, slicks for this strip. But yeah, I'll show you in here. As I said, pretty much the whole front of the car is tubular frame now. It's all been, rocker panels were plated, and all the outriggers were welded to the plate. I still have a few minor welds to make under the car, but that's all going to be made after I can get the car up in the air where I can do it comfortably. But other than that, the whole frame is pretty much welded together inside out. I added fish plates to my Z right there. It has fish plates inside and out. A lot of people ask me about this axle. This axle is actually a 48 through 52 Ford F100. The spindles I used, that's what I want some other people to understand if you decide to use one of these. These are the Ford style Speedway spindles and kingpins. Speedway does not advertise them to fit though. And the only reason I can figure that out is with these spindles, you end up with about 1 more degree of caster on each wheel compared to stock. But that's really the only thing I can find that's different. The kingpin kit fits, the spindles fit, and then of course you can run their brake kits. Right now I'm actually going to probably just use this passenger side steering arm, and I'm probably going to modify it, heat it up, get it bent closer to the wheel as much as possible, use it for my cross steering, and then I'm going to use some other steering arms that go on the bottom side of the spindles and do a rear drag link. So also, if you notice, this straight axle is currently pretty much zero caster right now. And that is because I cannot determine my caster until I got a full weight on this car. There's no way I'm going to determine caster until it's under full weight. So one or two things are going to happen. These rear mount brackets where the springs are, I'm either going to build spacers to weld into the frame and then weld the bracket back to it to give it caster, or they also sell, I think Speedway sells them, I've seen them in various places on Amazon, this, that, and the other, different, there's like little wedges you can put in between the spring and the axle that are wedge shaped, and it'll give you caster that way. I just have not decided what way I want to go. I don't know what the final solution to all that is yet, because I'm just not anywhere near that, so I'm not too concerned about it right now. I pretty much just ordered those steering arms and that particular drag link to the correct length, just so I can steer this car right now to move around while I'm working on it. So pretty much that whole steering setup up there is not my last solution to what's going to be going on. See here is the 48-inch ladder bars. I did weld these brackets in solid. They're locked in place. As you can see, I pretty much still I have to do some more trimming on this sheet metal back here to make clearance for the ladder bars. They will bottom out there if I don't clear that. There's my panner bar. It's a big beefy one from Chassis Engineering. I do have to cut some more sheet metal out for that thing to clear. It's actually going to be up inside the trunk. It's pretty big, it's beefy, but that's what I want. So I got to make clearance for that. Show you the other side of the car. Yeah, so you can just see those wheel wells are going to have to be majorly trimmed some more. It is what it is, though. It's no big deal. As you can see, I did pin down the deck lid already. I guess I can show you in there real quick. There's not a whole lot to look at, but go ahead and open it up where you can see at least. So I ended up taking out that tail panel right there that was over the rear end because, well, one, I think it had a, I think it's going to end up bottoming out there if I didn't do something about it, and two, the panel bar is going to come up through the floor. I got to cut more of that floor out and make room for it. So all that sheet metal has to be redone. I do have a 16-gallon fuel cell, so I'm pretty much just going to re-sheet metal this whole floor in. I'm not going to put a tank in like stock. I'm just going to set the fuel cell in the trunk. What else? You can see the remnants of me having to replace the rear frame rails. That was a lot of work. More work than I wanted to do, but sometimes you have to do it. Shout out to Cheater Slick Culture. So yeah, that's pretty much what I've been up to lately. Whole lot of welding, whole lot of cutting. I'm currently doing this in my little 2-car garage at my house. I should be back in a somewhat decent sized shop by October, I'm hoping. Because let's face it, it gets pretty challenging building a car in a 2-car garage. It can be done, but it's definitely not my preferred way of doing it. Anyways, guys, until next time.